Beneath the quiet walls of an English country estate, a secret war rages, a war fought not with guns, but with whispers and shadows. Here, in rooms no one dares enter, lies the key to unraveling a deadly code that could shift the balance of a global conflict. What secrets were locked away, and what price was paid to keep them hidden? Step carefully. Some doors, once opened, can never be closed. In the hushed corridors of Bletchley Park, the atmosphere was thick with tension and secrecy. It was 1942, and the fate of the Allied war effort hung on the ability of a small group of brilliant minds to decode the seemingly unbreakable Enigma cipher used by Nazi Germany. Among them was Evelyn Grant, a 24-year-old mathematician from Cambridge whose quiet determination and sharp intellect would soon make her an indispensable part of the code-breaking operation. Evelyn had been recruited through a discreet program designed to find the brightest women mathematicians in Britain. She had left behind a comfortable life, trading lectures and tea with her family for endless nights surrounded by papers, mechanical typewriters, and the incessant hum of the bomb machines, electromechanical devices designed to reduce the vast number of possible Enigma settings. The work was exhausting and lonely, yet the importance of her mission spurred her on. Each morning at Bletchley, Evelyn joined her colleagues in the main hut, where they gathered intercepted German radio transmissions. These messages, encoded through the Enigma machine's complex system of rotors and plugboards, appeared as indecipherable strings of letters. The Germans believed their communications were unbreakable, a confidence bolstered by the machine's mechanical complexity and daily changes in settings. But Evelyn and her team worked tirelessly, using logic, mathematics, and sheer perseverance to crack the code. The breakthrough came on a chilly October morning. Evelyn had been poring over a set of messages related to supply convoys in the Atlantic, trying to predict where and when the Germans might strike. After weeks of pattern analysis and testing rotor settings, she realized that a particular set of messages repeated subtle phrases and formatting errors, clues that allowed her to reconstruct part of the Enigma key for that day. Excitement rippled through the hut as her supervisors verified the findings. The decoded messages revealed that the German Navy planned a large-scale U-boat attack on a critical Allied convoy scheduled to cross the Atlantic in the coming days. The intelligence was passed quickly to naval commanders, who altered convoy routes and increased escort protection, saving hundreds of ships and countless lives. But the work was far from over. Evelyn's role grew as the Enigma keys changed daily and new challenges emerged. The team adapted constantly, refining their techniques and developing early computing devices to speed up the decoding process. Evelyn learned to collaborate with cryptographers from the United States and other allied nations, forming a secret international network bound by shared purpose and unwavering dedication. Despite the monumental nature of their work, the codebreakers were bound by strict confidentiality. They couldn't share their achievements even with their families, and many struggled with the emotional burden of invisibility. Evelyn often wondered how history would remember them, locked away in this country estate while the world burned. Amid the pressures, personal connections formed quietly. Evelyn found a confidant in James Harper, a fellow mathematician who shared her passion for puzzles and justice. Their friendship offered solace amid the long nights and whispered fears. Yet, the knowledge of the war's horrors, from reports of concentration camps to frontline battles, made their moments of lightness fleeting. The war's tide began to turn in 1943 and 1944, with the Allies gaining momentum across Europe and the Pacific. The information gleaned from Enigma intercepts played a crucial role in planning D-Day, allowing the Allies to anticipate German defenses along the Normandy coast. Evelyn took pride in knowing her work was part of the larger effort to end the conflict. As victory approached, Bletchley Park faced uncertainty. The team had to destroy sensitive materials and maintain silence to preserve the secrecy of their accomplishments. Evelyn returned to Cambridge after the war, the weight of unspoken stories heavy on her shoulders. Decades later, as the veil of secrecy lifted, Evelyn's contributions emerged in history books and documentaries. She spoke softly about those years, emphasizing the collective effort rather than individual glory. The whispers of the Enigma, once a cipher of shadows, became a testament to courage, intellect, and the unseen battles fought in silence. Evelyn's story reminds us that war is not only fought on battlefields but also in the quiet rooms where minds unlock secrets that shape history. Her legacy is not just in the broken codes but in the resilience and hope that drove her generation to persevere against overwhelming odds. In the grim winter of 1943, the Warsaw Ghetto was a place where hope seemed almost impossible to find. Yet beneath the oppressive walls and the ever-watchful eyes of the Nazi guards, a flicker of resistance burned fiercely. Jakub Levin was at the heart of that fire, a young Jewish courier and fighter in the underground uprising that defied the terrifying odds stacked against them. Jakub had grown up in Warsaw, a vibrant city filled with the hum of daily life before the war tore it apart. When the Nazis forced Jews into the ghetto, he and his family were confined to a crowded, crumbling district, isolated from the outside world. Food was scarce, diseases spread rapidly, and despair was a constant shadow. But Jakub refused to surrender to hopelessness. He joined the Jewish Combat Organization, an underground resistance group determined to fight back against the Nazi genocide. The ghetto was more than just a prison, it was a battleground of wills. Jakub's role as a courier was vital. Slipping through secret tunnels, hidden doorways, and back alleys, he carried messages between the various resistance cells. Every journey risked capture or death, but each successful delivery strengthened the fragile web of coordination and communication among fighters and sympathizers. Jakub's letters carried plans, intelligence on German troop movements, and pleas for weapons from the Polish Home Army outside the walls. He also helped smuggle food and medicine to those too sick or weak to fight. The city around him burned with fear and defiance, and Jakub's resolve hardened with each passing day. In April 1943, the Nazis began the brutal operation to liquidate the ghetto, intending to deport the remaining inhabitants to death camps. But the resistance was ready. Though poorly armed and vastly outnumbered, they refused to go quietly. Jakub was at the front lines of the uprising, organizing small squads and setting traps in narrow alleys where German troops were vulnerable. The fighting was desperate and fierce. Molotov cocktails and homemade bombs were hurled at soldiers equipped with tanks and machine guns. The Nazis responded with overwhelming firepower and ruthless tactics, setting buildings ablaze and executing anyone caught resisting. Jakub witnessed friends fall and neighbors disappear, but the uprising persisted for nearly a month, an extraordinary act of courage that shocked the world. During the chaos, Jakub met Anna, a nurse working secretly to care for the wounded fighters. Their bond was forged in fire and loss, moments of tenderness amid the horror. Anna's unwavering spirit gave Jakub strength when despair threatened to consume him. Together, they dreamed of a future beyond the rubble, where justice might one day be served. As the uprising was crushed and the ghetto razed to the ground, Jakub and Anna managed a daring escape through the sewers, joining the wider Polish resistance. Though many fighters were captured or killed, their sacrifice resonated beyond Warsaw. The world began to understand that even in the darkest moments, resistance was possible. Jakub's story did not end with the war. After surviving multiple battles and the loss of his family, he dedicated his life to remembering those who had fallen and ensuring the truth of the Holocaust would never be forgotten. He spoke to future generations about the importance of courage, dignity, and the human will to resist oppression. The silent resistance of the Warsaw Ghetto stands as a testament to the indomitable spirit of those who refused to be silenced. Jakub's journey, from courier to fighter, embodies the profound resilience of the human heart amid unimaginable suffering. It reminds us that even in the face of overwhelming darkness, light can survive and inspire. The morning sun rose hazily over the island of Okinawa in early April 1945, casting a pale light on a landscape scarred by war. Lieutenant Tommy Rains tightened his helmet straps and checked his gear as the first waves of American Marines prepared to storm the beaches. This was Operation Iceberg, the largest amphibious assault in the Pacific Theater, a brutal stepping stone toward the heart of Imperial Japan. Tommy had been fighting in the Pacific for 2 years. He'd survived Guadalcanal and Peleliu, but Okinawa promised to be unlike any battle before. The Japanese defenders had fortified the island with intricate networks of caves, tunnels, and artillery positions. Every ridge and valley was a potential death trap. Yet Tommy and his comrades pressed forward, driven by the hope that victory here might hasten the end of the war. From the moment they landed, the fighting was relentless. The sandy beaches turned into killing fields under intense gunfire and artillery barrages. The Japanese defenders employed fierce tactics, including the increasingly desperate and deadly kamikaze attacks on American ships offshore. Tommy watched in horror as aircraft slammed into battleships and destroyers, explosions lighting the sky like deadly fireworks. Inside the island's dense jungle and rocky hills, the Marines faced a grueling, close-quarters war. Tommy's platoon advanced cautiously, every step shadowed by sniper fire and hidden mines. The enemy's use of caves meant assaults required dangerous, claustrophobic clearing operations with flamethrowers and grenades. The psychological toll was immense. Comrades fell around him, their lives snuffed out in moments. But amidst the chaos, moments of humanity flickered. Tommy exchanged letters with his wife back home, her words a lifeline to normalcy. He shared quiet camaraderie with fellow Marines, their shared hardship forging unbreakable bonds. In rare breaks, they reflected on the cost of freedom and the weight of their mission. The battle dragged on for nearly 3 months, marked by high casualties on both sides. Civilians trapped on the island suffered terribly, caught between fighting forces. Tommy saw villages reduced to rubble and met survivors whose stories haunted him long after the guns fell silent. In June, the island finally fell to the Americans, but the cost was staggering. Over 12,000 American lives lost, and tens of thousands of Japanese soldiers and civilians killed. For Tommy, the victory was bittersweet. He carried the scars of the fight, physical and mental, and the memories of friends who never returned. Operation Iron Wave was a critical moment in the Pacific War, shaping the final moves that led to Japan's surrender months later. The battle tested the limits of endurance and courage, and for Tommy Raines, it became the defining chapter of his life. Years after the war, Tommy spoke openly about Okinawa, breaking the silence that many veterans kept for decades. His story illuminated the complexity of combat, the heroism, the tragedy, and the profound cost of war. Through his memories, Operation Iron Wave remains not just a tale of strategy and conquest, but a deeply human story of sacrifice, survival, and the search for peace amid devastation. The streets of Berlin in the summer of 1942 were a city of shadows and suspicion. Irina Volkova moved through them like a ghost, her identity carefully concealed beneath the mask of a German secretary. But behind her calm demeanor was the fierce determination of a Soviet intelligence officer, tasked with gathering crucial information for the Red Army during the darkest days of Operation Barbarossa. Irina had trained in Moscow's secretive spy schools, mastering languages, surveillance, and coded communications. Sent deep into enemy territory, her mission was perilous. One misstep could mean capture, torture, or death. Yet she understood the stakes. The survival of her homeland depended on the intelligence she could send back, revealing Nazi troop movements, supply lines, and strategic plans. Living in Berlin meant constant danger. Every interaction was a test of nerve and skill. Irina developed a network of contacts within the city's military and industrial circles, using charm and cunning to extract secrets. Her coded messages were transmitted via hidden radio transmitters and clandestine couriers, weaving a fragile lifeline between the Soviet front and the heart of Nazi Germany. The turning point came in late 1943, when Irina uncovered details about a planned German offensive on the Eastern Front. She managed to relay this information to Moscow just in time, allowing Soviet commanders to prepare defenses that would later contribute to the pivotal victory at the Battle of Kursk. But espionage took a toll beyond the physical risks. Irina grappled with loneliness and the moral complexities of her work. She witnessed the horrors of war from a distance, haunted by the destruction in cities and the suffering of civilians. Yet she remained resolute, driven by the hope that her sacrifice could help bring the war to an end. As the Red Army advanced into Germany in 1945, Irina's mission shifted to sabotage and direct support for the Soviet troops. She aided partisan groups and helped coordinate underground resistance, using her knowledge of Berlin's layout and German defenses to guide assaults and minimize casualties. When the Soviet flag finally rose over the Reichstag, Irina was among those who had played a crucial, though invisible, role in the victory. She returned to Moscow quietly, her identity still classified for many years. In later decades, Irina shared her story with younger generations of intelligence officers, emphasizing the power of courage, adaptability, and unwavering commitment to a cause greater than oneself. Her legacy remains a testament to the hidden front lines of World War II, the battles waged not only with guns and tanks, but with secrets, courage, and unbreakable resolve. In the early days of 1942, the hum of machinery filled the sprawling factory floors across the United States. Amid the clang of metal and the scent of oil, Maggie O'Connor wiped sweat from her brow and adjusted her safety goggles. Like millions of women who had answered the call to work while men fought overseas, Maggie was part of a powerful movement that transformed both the war effort and American society, the women of the war machine. Before the war, Maggie's life had followed a traditional path. She worked as a secretary in a small town in Ohio, dreamed of marriage and children, and believed her role was to support her family quietly. But when Pearl Harbor was attacked and the United States entered the war, everything changed. Factories that once produced cars and appliances converted overnight to making tanks, airplanes, and ammunition. The demand for labor was urgent. The government launched campaigns to recruit women, using iconic images of Rosie the Riveter to inspire a generation. Maggie saw the posters plastered on street corners and in newspapers and felt a stirring of pride and duty. Leaving behind hesitation and societal expectations, she took a position at an aircraft plant building the new B-29 bombers that would carry the fight to Japan. The factory was a world unlike any Maggie had known. Women of all ages, races, and backgrounds worked side by side, learning to operate heavy machinery, weld metal, and assemble complex parts. The work was hard and exhausting, with long shifts and constant pressure to meet production quotas. Yet Maggie thrived, finding purpose and camaraderie in the clang of steel and the rhythm of the assembly line. Outside the factory, life was different but no less challenging. Maggie balanced her duties at home, caring for her aging parents and keeping her younger siblings out of trouble. She faced skepticism from neighbors and family who believed women should remain in traditional roles. But as letters from soldiers overseas arrived, many praising the vital role of women back home, the resistance began to wane. In rare moments of rest, Maggie and her co-workers gathered to share stories and hopes for the future. They celebrated small victories. The first plane rolled off the line, the factory met its quotas, a colleague earned a promotion. They also mourned the losses, as news from the front lines reminded them of the stakes. Rosie's legacy went beyond the factory walls. Women like Maggie reshaped the American workforce, proving their ability to perform skilled labor and take on leadership roles. Their contributions challenged gender norms and laid the groundwork for future movements toward equality. When the war ended, many women faced pressure to return to traditional roles as men came home. Maggie understood the bittersweet nature of the transition but remained proud of her work and the doors it had opened. She became an advocate for women's rights and education, encouraging younger generations to pursue their ambitions without limits. Decades later, Maggie's story was told in museums, books, and films celebrating the women who powered the war machine. She spoke of the pride, the challenges, and the friendships forged in a time of crisis. Her legacy was a tribute not just to a generation's wartime effort, but to the enduring spirit of women who changed the course of history through grit, skill, and unyielding determination. The echoes of broken codes and silent battles linger still, haunting the corners of history where heroes were never named. In the darkness of secrecy, courage found a voice, and shadows shaped the fate of millions. But as the truth slips through the cracks, we must ask, what other secrets remain buried, waiting to be uncovered? Some mysteries refuse to stay silent forever.